Ladies and gentlemen, I am Yusril. The game is World of Warships. It's the boat game again. Yes, I know. This is the Kamikaze R. It's the, well, you've all heard of it. This was the ultimate reward for Project R if you ground out either 260 pearls or ground out 150 pearls and got lucky on the European server. The Southeast Asian, Russian and American servers had their own criteria for getting hold of this ship. Basics, well, it's essentially a modification of the Kamikaze, the Japanese Tier 5, and it also sits at Tier 5. The key differences, well, it's slower for a start, 37.5 knots compared to 39.8, the guns traverse at 7 degrees a second rather than 6, and it's 200 hit points tougher. So, arguably, Kamikaze is actually the better ship, but of course this baby is premium, so she gets all the bonuses. She also gets free Type 5 camouflage as a permanent bonus. The further downside to all this, however, is that her anti-air is absolute garbage. It's 2 rifle caliber machine guns mounted on the bridge. In fact, you can't even see them. Yes, you can. They are just there. There's one of them, just ahead of the side signal, the green light indicating starboard there. That's one of them. There's another one on the other side, and, well, that's it as far as flak goes, which is why they're turned off. But that said, this is a Japanese destroyer. The hard counter to air was always get out of sight, which is what I'm going to be doing fairly frequently in this game. For the moment, however, it starts off as a pretty standard destroyer encounter battle. I'm running mid-section, heading out to scout, find the enemy, and light them up for the following cruisers, hopefully without getting detected myself. Our carrier's put his wings in the air on the eastern side. They're heading down the 8 line, and we'll see what they pick up. The only real weakness is that we've left the 1, 2, and 3 lines uncovered. Mostly that's down to our deployment, but at this point I kick right, I've spotted the weakness, and I've plugged in the engine boost to try and get over there, leaving Kamikaze center to cover the gap. Doesn't actually work out that way, because Atlas 80 has also seen the gap, and as he rounds the island, he starts to turn to starboard as well. Who cares? We're still pretty reasonably covered. The cruisers have got the center, and one of those cruisers is a Murmansk, the other is a Königsberg. So Königsberg in particular is a long-range sniper like most German cruisers. I believe they reach out to about 16.5 kilometers. Murmansk, of course, modified Phoenix and Omaha class, lent over to the Russians and then heavily tweaked, has a reputation as being one of the best Tier 5 cruisers in the game and a very, very good money spinner. But we've found the enemy. Flight groups in particular have run into a destroyer and 2 cruisers over on the eastern side. Our own 2 destroyers and cruiser have moved in to engage. Meanwhile, we're over on the left-hand side. And first encounter of the day is Skrato's Furataka. Now, Atlas 80 has turned to keep ahead of him. He's setting up for a torpedo launch. You can tell that just from the way he's maneuvering. Remember, Kamikaze and Kamikaze can both fire fairly far forwards, but ideally want a broadside launch, and the enemy air group has just been caught attempting an end run. They were presumably going for the carrier, but they are about to settle for one of our battleships. Atlas 80's gotten a little clumsy. He's run into the Mutsuki, but he did it early enough that I pick up on Ionida, and I'm able to turn away and avoid detection. But there is a complication. At this point, if I blow my cover, I'm under the guns of a Nagato at 10 kilometers and a Furataka at 10 kilometers and a Mutsuki at 8.9. Well, that's not a problem, but those 2 guys most definitely will be if I get spotted, and the enemy air group is coming this way. Detection on the Kamikaze, 3.1 kilometers. So get round this island. Pray I can open the range enough. 4.0, 3.9, 0.8, 0.7, 0.6, 0.5. And change underwear. Scrape detection by 400 meters. And they're in a straight line, which means that their carrier is somewhere down by J3. Carrier drivers, be very, very careful when you're recalling your planes. If they do straight line runs to home like this, you're going to give your location away. So, let's go hunt us a carrier. Take those torpedo bombers out of the equation before they mess up the battleships. But, new problem. Königsberg coming in at reasonably full speed. He's just manoeuvred a little. Torpedo range is 7 kilometers. Check the TDC bearing, make the turn, stabilize, launch 1, launch 2, launch 3. Yisrael, you noob, what have you done? Your torpedoes only have a range of 7 kilometers, and you launched at 7.8. Well, not exactly. The torpedoes have a range of 7 kilometers, but the enemy is also moving. What that means is that he is sailing towards my torpedoes, and yes, this is still an extreme range shot. Yes, if he turns even slightly, it's got the potential to wreck said shot, but he's not really turning, is he? I don't even know why I bothered to build suspense on that one. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3 would have killed him if the second one hadn't. However, got a little lucky there. If he turned even either hard to starboard or hard to port, he would have foiled the shot and I'd have blown my location. On the bright side, I now have sea room, so I can stay away from that AFK Cleveland. Oh yeah, baby. Excuse me, I'm at this point seriously considering whether I'm gonna go for, you know what, I'm just gonna have me some fun. Ionida gets the kill on Atlas 8. He gets a devastating strike for that, so I can only assume he landed a torpedo shot. So, Cleveland's not moving. Just run it down to 7 kilometers, give or take. Don't get too close because that new mech is active, and of course the Cleveland spotters are active, even if the captain's comatose. So, check the bearing. Inside torpedo cone, 1, 2, 3. Torps away, turn away. We'll go around the other side of the island because that air group's back in the area. He's relaunched and rearmed. Here they come. 4.0, 4.1, 39, 36, 35, 34, 33, 34. Phew. 200 meters, scrape detection. The air group should have picked up the torpedoes, and if the Cleveland had been awake, you could avoid them by a couple of quick taps on the W key, but the Cleveland's not awake. Again, why build suspense? You know what's going to happen. I wasn't even looking at this point. Wait for it. 1, 2, damaged, and a detonation. So he does at least get some flags to stop that happening again. Not the AFK, the magazine detonation. Enemy fighter wing goes past at 5 kilometers. He's well and truly blown his location. But if I slip up at this point, it's still going to be painful. That Nagato is still dangerously close. If he knows how to shoot straight, 10 kilometers is not a hard shot against a broadside destroyer. Tippy-toes past the new mechs. Could maybe have gone for a torpedo shot here, but decided against it. Enemy aircraft coming back now. Have they thought better of things? No, I think they took a shot against one of our destroyers and missed. Again, skim past their detection, turn away, let them toddle past in peace. Very obliging of them to tell me exactly where the carrier is, just confirming my suspicions that he's behind the sign. Now watch their landing pattern. Bear in mind that carrier aircraft recover stern to bow, so the way they've just landed like that strongly suggests that the carrier is facing west. If I'd gone round the left-hand side of the island, we'd have been straight into a stern chase. Not good, so instead, adjust course. Come round to the right-hand side then, that should put me on his forward quarter, and even if he stands on his engine and gas pedal, he's gonna be heading towards me, and that's not really a good thing when you're talking about a destroyer that can reload its torpedoes in 46 seconds. Arm up, tight spread on torpedoes, come round, detection goes off, there's the carrier, gotcha. Come on, 2,000 meters, his secondaries open up, 3 midships shots. Again, he could cause me some trouble if he just stands on his accelerator, so get a fire going with high X. But he doesn't even attempt it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and kill. The last 2 are probably overkill. And now I have a problem. Because these aircraft got off the deck, they are going to carry on spotting me for a while. Even more so if he'd actually managed to give an automated attack order to those torpedo bombers. And yeah, luckily he didn't. In fact, he sent them off Lord only knows where. I've still got the fighter squadron hovering overhead, however, so this could get messy. And I'm about to clear the headland, which means my cover against this Nagato is shortly going to run out, but I've got to break contact from those aircraft. So, solution, pop smoke, cut to 1/4 throttle, and just tiptoe away for a bit. Just hope I can open up 3 kilometers, or that those fighters are going to toddle off somewhere. Break contact for the moment. Out of range on Nagato, I'd have considered a shot. Would have wasted my ammunition, of course. Nagato's heading the other side of that island at H5, and the torpedoes will rearrange the geography. Smoke detection. Okay, right. So, still detected. Only option, therefore, is to make a break for it. But the good news is that Nagato is looking the other way. His turrets are facing over towards our main battle line, and those 2 battleships round at E1 and 2 in particular. So, while he's distracted, I've broken contact. I'm away from the enemy aircraft, and I'm invisible again, back into cloaking. Time to go hunt me a battleship, I think. I'm on his blind side. He doesn't really know I'm here, or he'd be manoeuvring a sight harder than he was. I pick up another detection. Again, that's just random patrol from the fighters, but Nagato's not really looking, and his main guns are the wrong way anyway. So it'd take him at least 30 seconds to get around. He's just fired on top of that, so I know he's tunnel visioned up. And he's got torpedo bombers to worry about as well. 8 of them inbound. Are they going to do him in? Well, we'll find out in a second. Meanwhile, I've got another opportunity shot coming up. That New Mexico belonging to Aqua 1010's heading south away from the battle line, which means he's about to clear this corner. Torpedo bombers put their fish in the water. Nagato starts turning to evade. It doesn't save him, however, and he goes down. Meanwhile, launch 1, launch 2, launch 3. Aqua 1010 is coming around this corner. He's probably not quite noticed I'm there, which means that while he's focused up on the battleships behind him, he's not really going to know about the torpedoes in front until it's far too late. Another lesson of the day, ladies and gentlemen, situational awareness. Have a rough idea of where the enemy are. One of the reasons why last enemy locations on minimap mods are considered so powerful. Torpedoes are running, torpedoes are running. Do I even need to build suspense here? No, not really. 4 hits, 3 floods, and a high caliber. Right, all that's left is the Mutsuki of Ayanida. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. Now, the last place we saw him was somewhere in the southwest corner. He was, remember, tailing around with the Nagato and the Furutaka. So, where's he got to? Air groups moving in to run a search. Very, very considerate of the carrier. Of course, there's nothing left for him to shoot at. And, well, Aqua 1010 is claiming extenuating circumstances. And the destroyers, well, luckily Ayanida had his flak on, so yeah. The fighters have found him, and that means we've all found him. So, battleships are chasing. He's going to have to turn to port in a moment, or he'll run out of map to run from, which means that if I turn to port and come around again, he's going to run right into my guns range, and I can basically head him off at the pass in best Western tradition. Okay. Kamikaze versus Mutsuki. We're both on about the same hit points. We've both got more or less the same artillery fit. Unfortunately, I got first look, first shot, and first hits. He's on fire, which is a bit of bad luck on his part. I've got my gun solution. He's still adjusting his gun. Second round goes out. Second fire, 2 more hits. He's blown his damage control to get those out. He's still trying to get his guns round. There he goes. Third volley goes in. 2,000 torpedoes away on widespread. I don't actually expect him to hit anything. He has the same idea. Puts 1 salvo in the water. There's his second launch. Decelerate, turn away. Back to the guns. The deceleration foxes his gun solution as well. And, well, he's not really going to win this one, is he? Salvo out, in reverse, take an engine hit, doesn't really matter. 3 hits and another fire. That's what's going to kill him in a moment. Pop my smoke, start taking targeting solutions from the battleships instead. And that is Endex for Ayanida. Or at least it will be once he finishes burning. And once the burning and the screaming is done, this was the end result. 500,000 credits, bearing in mind that I'm on a premium account at the moment and this was a premium ship. It'll still pay for a few runs in the Kaguru. As for XP, not much I can do with it. This is a premium ship after all, and it was the first battle of the day, which is why that figure is so inflated. Kraken, of course, for 5 kills, 4 devastating strikes from the initial torpedo hits, and 1 high caliber, mostly from getting lucky and catching a Königsberg and a Ranger while they were both still intact, and doing full damage to the pair of them. As for base experience and score charts, well, here you go, 2,500 base XP, so still a decent enough run. Rest of the team didn't do too shabbily as well. Our other Nicholas-class destroyer got 1,400 XP, normally that would be a very commendable performance, and over on the enemy team, well, Mutsuki under Ionida picked up 1,000 XP even with a loss, which is extremely respectable at tier 5. Damage numbers pretty much tell the story, however. 12 torpedo hits for 130,000 damage off 30 launches, a 40% strike rate. 50% if you remember that I didn't expect that last salvo of 6 to hit anything. That's the kind of difference that the high-speed short-range torpedoes on Kamikaze and Kamikaze make compared to the slower but longer-range jobs on the later Japanese destroyers. The guns, like most Japanese destroyers, they were a sideshow, but they did have their uses against Ionida's Mutsuki. 12,000 damage from 21 high explosive hits, 1,500 from fires, and the floodings, well, they were from the torpedo strikes and everything died before it had a chance to flood. So overall, well, decent enough run, but I'm sure you guys have spotted mistakes and things I could have done differently. Certainly I should have aimed a little further forward against that Königsberg. If he'd been a smidge quicker on his acceleration, those torpedoes would have missed aft. But hey, that's what this video is for, among other things. Look at the way I played, pull some holes in my style, and let me know in the comments. I'll be reading with interest. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, and until next time, I have been Yusril, that has been the Kamikaze R, and farewell.